What's up, guys? Welcome to Mike It Yourself, and for today's video we're going to fix the eBay seat that we put on the '07 Road King Blue. So if you remember in that video, I shared with you the bolts that were holding kind of that tongue part that goes into the slot just below the gas tank. Those bolts, when I undid them, there was just nuts behind them and they fell into the seat. Now they're lost. I don't know where they are. So I want to give a big shout out to my boy Doyle. He's from the Blue Bike and Doyle channel. Check his channel out. I'll put like one of those floaty things above. And he had recommended using a Nutsert. So it's a tool I've never used before, but essentially it kind of puts a threaded rivet in place, and that way you can screw a bolt into. So I picked up this tool on Amazon. We'll take a look at it. I'm going to try to figure out how to use it. It doesn't look too difficult, and hopefully we can resolve this issue. So let's dive into this. Damn it. All right, so here's the toolkit. So in the kit, you get a bunch of nut rivet things. So you get metric and English. So they give you M6, M8, M10, and then some 1/4 inch by 20, 5/16 by 18, and then the 3/8 by 16. So depending on what size bolt and thread pitch you need, you can pick out which one you're going to use, right? And then inside of it, you got your tool case, and within this looks like you get the Nutsert installation toolkit. Maybe that's like a manual or something, I don't know. We'll put that off to the side. But then you get your actual tool here. It comes with the different bits that you would use to put these in. So again, common sense, right? M10 goes with the M10, M8 goes with the M8, and so on. I'm not too sure what this tool does. We'll have to take a look at what that is. And then you get some oil here, so that'll probably help you, put that in place. So basically what we'll need to do is we're gonna have to take the seat off of the bike and measure out the hole that we need to fill. And what we're gonna do is use a caliper for that. So I've got a caliper here that we can measure out that hole with, and I'll walk you through that quick process. But we'll figure out which Nutsert we're going to use, and then we can figure out what adapter and put it in place. So let's measure this out. So we've got our seat off here. We're going to go ahead and remove the plastic little retainer clip things that I put in there. So these fit, but they weren't really long enough. So I did find that they popped off during one of my rides, and we're going to put the Nutsert in here, but we need to make sure that whatever Nutsert we pick for this hole, that the bolt that matches up with that isn't too big for this hole. So the way we're going to do that is by measuring this out. All right, so the process to measure these holes is pretty simple. You just take your caliper. In this case, we have a digital one, but you can use an analog one. It's just a lot more convenient when you're on camera to use this simple digital. So you want to zeroize it and then use this side here to measure your hole. So I'm getting about 7.95 millimeters. So that tells me I can probably go with the either the M6 or the M8. M8 might be a little snug. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get the bolt that fits into the M8 just to make sure it doesn't create any issues with going through this hole, so that way you can get to the Nutsert. So let me go get that bolt. All right, guys, so I double checked with Professor Google and found out that the 5/16 is closer to the hole size than the M8 is. So the M8, of course, is 8 millimeter. 5/16 is actually equal to 7.95, which is basically what we read. Now, I've got a bolt here. This is for the 5/16 with the 18 pinch, and it fits through the bracket with no binding or anything like that. This is the M8 bolt, and it fits just as well. So really it's my pick. And in this case, since we're putting this on an American-made vehicle, we're gonna go ahead and keep it English. That way my toolkit that I carry matches it and all that kind of good stuff. So we're gonna go ahead and insert the Nutsert into the plastic using that tool. And the way I understand how this works is this will go inside the plastic. Once you insert it, you use the tool that's going to be threaded through this to basically squish this so it's going to mushroom out, and that's what holds it in place. Let's take a look at the instructions, make sure I'm not missing any steps before I goof this up. All right, so looking at the instructions on how to use this tool, there is a pin that we're going to have to insert into the tool once we put, I guess, the mandrel is what they call those bits. And then that special tool that I kind of pointed out, that's actually a part of the putting that mandrel on to help you tighten it and loosen it so you can swap them out. And then they give you a little bit of how to operate the tool thing. And they're just showing an example. Looks like they're doing some work on a side-by-side, but they're doing like plastic flares or something like that there. And then on the inside, they kind of walk you through a couple more images. They show you what the Nutsert should look like before and after, so you can kind of see how it creates that mushroom look there and will hold on or hold in place once you've done that. And then they have a couple more images, but it's pretty good actually. So normally stuff like this doesn't come with great instructions, but this actually makes a good deal of sense. And with the images makes it a little bit easier. So let's see if we can follow them. All right, so I'm not sure how much of this I can do with one hand, but essentially what you need to do is, they call this the mandrel stem. So this is that 5/16 deal. You just kind of put that there. There's a hole there that lines up, and you need to insert this pin into that hole, and then use this tool to apply pressure to the pin. And there's like a little ball bearing in there that you just need to get it over. Yep, just like that. I was able to do it with one hand. And then you tighten it down so you kind of lock it in place with that. And apparently once you do that, you should be ready to go if I'm reading things right. Now what I did just check is to see if the hole in the seat was big enough to accommodate this Nutsert, and it is not. So I'm gonna have to drill that hole out a little bit just so I can fit this Nutsert in, and that way we get a good grab, or whatever you want to call it, right? Good setting. So let me go get the drill gun and the drill bit. And you want to make this where there's not any slop really in it, because since this thing only mushrooms out so far, you don't want to drill your hole so big where this doesn't even fit, or else you're going to end up in a situation where you'll have to get the next size up of Nutsert, and you'll have to drill out the little tongue bracket so that way the bolt can fit through it. So let's drill this out really quick. Very simple. I'm just going to check the diameter of this and get the appropriate drill. So I'm not going to show that because that's a no-brainer. And then we'll go ahead and insert the Nutsert. All right, so we got our holes drilled out. Now I can put the Nutsert in there. It's nice and snug. It doesn't just it's not wobbling around or whatever, which is exactly what you don't want to have, is it wobble around. And because there's foam right behind it, I just used a I think this is a step drill bit, or I forget what they call these, but this is great. So for this particular Nutsert, I had to use a 7/16, and this allowed me to get that hole that wide without having to start digging into the padding or the foam there. So now we can go ahead and use the Nutsert tool to mushroom that thing out or whatever. All right, so in order to use this, all you need to do is open up the handles, get your Nutsert. You want to thread it on. You want to make sure you thread it on to where it at least makes it through to you get to the tip there. So you should see it, or it should be flush. I'm sure if you want to, you could screw it all the way down, but I don't think it's necessary. And then you insert your nutsert into the hole and then squeeze your handles together. It says not to use excessive force, and it doesn't seem like you need to. But you want to keep it nice and flat on it. Squeeze your handles, and once you've done that, you can spin this little knob here, and that actually unscrews the tool from the nutsert. Now, taking a look at it, they're not moving, they're in. It did stress this out a little bit, so that could be a little bit of technique that I need to work on, but they're in place, and that means we should be able to put that bracket on. So let's give that a run. I'm going to do this one-handed, and I will need to put like a lock washer or something on there just to kind of secure it in place, but now we have a method to screw those down on. There you go. So like I said, needs a lock washer just to keep that thing from backing out. But all in all, a very simple tool to use. Nutsert, right? Nutsetter, I think, is the tool, and then nutserts are the rivets or something like that. So this was I think $30 at on Amazon. You can get them at Harbor Freight, I think, for $40 if you want to get the tool with the different nutserts. You know, just wait for like a coupon day or whatever. So let me go ahead and get these lock washers in place, and then we'll get this back on the bike for a quick wrap up. All right, so there you go. Seat's back on the bike. Fits just like it did before, so that was not an issue. But at least now I know that it's not going to come undone like it was with those plastic retaining clips. All right, so again, a huge shout out to my boy Doyle. Really appreciate the feedback, and that's the kind of stuff I look for in the community. Is, you know, we're just trying to help each other, trying to figure out like ways to solve our issues, and provide some advice and experience to everybody else. So huge thank you to him. Great little tool. I'm sure I'm going to find a million uses for it now, and yeah, great deal. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know what to do. Thumbs up, become a subscriber, and I'd love to hear from you. If you have suggestions or information to share with the community or even with me, you know, hit that, throw it in the comments below. I really appreciate it. And like I said, go ahead and check out Blue Bike and Doyle. Great channel and great videos. All right, so until that next video does come out, I hope to see you in the win.